Good morning, traders. I am Emily Advani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Tuesday, December 10th. Stocks are coming off a slow start to the week after all three major indices fell yesterday, thanks in part due to a slip in tech. The Dow gave up 250 points, or more than 0.5%. The S&P 500 shed 37 points, or 0.61%. The Nasdaq dropped 123 points, or 0.62%. Bill, let's get into today's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Yes, good morning, Emily. I'm watching the S&Ps. We're up 0.9, almost a tenth of 1%. It's positive action. We're seeing some positive action in the airlines and the oil stocks and tech this morning. The economic calendar is light today. Markets are kind of, gearing up for tomorrow's inflation report, that CPI report that's coming out tomorrow morning. What do we have going on today? There's a shareholders meeting at Microsoft where they're going to be making a vote on adding Bitcoin to its balance sheet. That could be interesting. Yesterday we saw that speculation about a tie-up between Mondelez and Hershey's. It's not likely going to happen. I'll get more into that in a bit. Earnings reports, ticker AI, MTN, UNFI, that's C3AI, Vail Mountain Resorts, and United Foods. They're all trading higher after earnings. After the bell today, we get earnings from Dave & Buster's and GameStop. And Macy's announced late last night that they're intending to release earnings tomorrow morning. So, remember they pre-announced about 2 weeks ago. It wasn't good, but they're going to have their actual earnings announcement tomorrow morning, they said. So, then we're kind of taking a look at what's happening overseas and in Europe. And the DAX was lower, but it has since turned higher. It's up about 0.2% or 38 points. The FTSE's lower by 0.47%. The CAC is lower by 0.57%. There are some issues in China. They had out they came out with some negative economic data, and that's is really their export and import data really fell, and that's really what's hurting the miners on the FTSE and the luxury stocks on the CAC, and that's why you've seen those indexes trade lower. And speaking of Asia, last night we did see gains in the Nikkei. The Nikkei jumped 0.53%. Electronic stocks had a good day. The Hong Kong market, they gave back, 0.5% or about 102 points. The Shanghai index in China actually rose 20 points at 0.59%. See, the China situation where the policymakers announced how they're going to be, loosening monetary policy, that came out yesterday after the market already closes. So this morning it was pricing in. But, Hong Kong was really reacting to that trade data, and that's why that was falling. And then we're taking a look at oil this morning, and we're seeing a little weakness. WTI is down, trading at $68.15. Brent is trading $71.91. That's lower by about 0.3%. The optimism on that was, on China has dwindled, after the export and imports data both mixed expectations for November. And that kind of, leads to worries about, the world's second largest economy. And then, after the close today, you got to remember we get the API estimates. They're coming out tomorrow morning. We got an OPEC announcement. We get the OPEC monthly report, as well as the EIA data, the official stockpiles data coming out. So we got a lot going on in oil. And that's what I have for you in terms of a morning market update report, Emily.
Bill, it's sifting through a bunch of what you said. One of the areas that you pointed out is earnings action, naming a number of companies there. So we'll start there. Bill, what is going on in terms of earnings?
Let's talk Vail Mountain Resorts, ticker MTN, Michael, Tom, Nancy. Listen, this stock has really been beaten up since the pandemic, but they delivered a beat of 54 cents, and they did do it on higher revenue. You look at shares of MTN, Michael, Tom, Nancy this morning, they're up 4.26%. Then you got C3AI, that's ticker AI, Apple India. They beat by 10 cents, and they did that on higher revenue. That stock was trading higher. It's now lower by about 6.84%. Oracle, the bar was really high for Oracle, and they missed by only a penny, and it was on slightly lower revenue, and it wasn't a bad report, Stock's down about 6.43%, so not horrible, all things considered. But Oracle, it was a good report. I did like the report. And then upcoming after the bell today, we got the Dave and Buster's. Their EPS is for a loss of 42 cents with the expected move of 14.79%. GameStop, ticker GME, Grace Michael Edward. They're expected to come in, flat even on their EPS. Expected move is 15.83%. And Macy's, they're also releasing tomorrow. I don't have any data on Macy's because I just read about it this morning. But that's what I have for you in terms of upcoming earnings announcements, Emily.
Bill, I'll take a quick pause here to point out that Oracle was your pick of the day yesterday. And even though it is down, I will give our listeners a hint. There may have been a play there to walk away with a gain. So stick with us till the end of the show when we get a recap on that pick of the day. Now we're going to get to economic events. Of course, we're all anticipating some updated numbers when it comes to inflation coming out tomorrow and Thursday. But in the meantime, Bill, what is going on in terms of today's economic events?
Well, at 8:55 a.m. Eastern time, we get the Johnson Red Book on retail sales. That's a weekly figure. At 9 a.m., we get the productivity and costs, and at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, we get the API oil stockpiles estimates. So nothing really significant, but three good reports. The API will likely move oil prices after the bell today when that data is released. But everybody really is looking forward to tomorrow's CPI data. Probably coming a little hot. That really kind of concerns me with respect to the upcoming Federal Reserve meeting. Not that they're not going to lower interest rates. I do believe that the Fed will lower interest rates 25 basis points at this upcoming December meeting. But if you've listened to the Fed speak over the last month or so, they really have been talking about instituting a pause, which makes sense because you got a new economic plan, a new economic agenda coming in with President-elect Trump taking over, and his talking about tariffs kind of may skew the economic horizon. So the Fed doesn't want to be wrong, and they're always behind the curve, so they're going to want to see some data. So them stating recently that they're going to start taking a pause is very likely. I mean, you will see it in January and February with the next change in rate cuts maybe happening in March. But we'll have to wait and see. That it could actually happen in April, but they're really going to take a pause because they don't know what to expect with Donald Trump. Because let's face it, he's talked about tariffs. And and if you try and pin him down, he's all over the place. And maybe that's a negotiating tool. Or maybe he hasn't made a decision yet. Nobody really knows. But the point is that the Fed is unlikely to continue its rate cutting policy after the December meeting. And it'll probably be apparent in the dot plot when that's released next week, along with the when the FOMC makes its monetary announcement. But that's what I have for you in terms of economic update, Emily.
And Bill, your synopsis of what's going on in terms of the economy and economic events is a perfect example of how you're putting pieces of data together to really be ahead of trends and anticipate what may be happening in the markets with the economy, with the next FOMC meeting. That's all important as you're trying to take advantage of any given trading day. The other areas of information you look at day in and day out. We even heard some headlines in your opening there, things like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, buyback news, catalyst calls. You look at your stocks grouped together like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks. So Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the markets today?
Yeah, I'm just looking at my doing a day check of my Dow stocks. I got 15 higher, 15 lower, so it's mixed. But I'm looking at my FANG stocks. I'm seeing gains with everything except for Amazon, which is just down by 3 cents. Everything else is trading higher, which is a real good start for the day. So I'm kind of excited for the day to get started. But we're looking at some of the news behind the tape this morning as to what's causing the markets for movement, and we're looking at the FANG stocks. And I look at Google and I see that yesterday they came out and they said that their Willow chip has had major achievements in quantum error correction and benchmark computing speed. Okay, but I also noticed that Google and Meta are being requested for more information on apparently they have an ad deal where they're targeting teens, and the EU regulators are probing Meta and Google for more information from these two companies. I don't think that there's a secret deal, but somebody says it and everybody just jumps on like it's, the conspiracies love to get out of control. Let's talk Dow Jones 30 stock. And let's talk Microsoft. Microsoft's meeting starts, their shareholder meeting starts today at 11:30 a.m. 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. And they're going to vote on adding Bitcoin to its financials. They might be purchasing some Bitcoin, which I find interesting. Now, I don't think it's going to happen. I think they'll probably say no, but this has been pushed on there and it is on the agenda. We'll have to see. But if Microsoft says that they're going to be, putting Bitcoin to their financials, you're going to see Bitcoin rally over, today. But we'll have to wait and see how that goes. Boeing, ticker BA. Boy, Apple, the shares are up big. They were up big yesterday. They're up big again today, up 1.78%. Why? Because there are reports that are indicating that Boeing has restarted their 737 MAX production last week. That's positive for the stock. And once those 737 MAX planes started rolling off the line, that stock will easily hit 180, then 200, then 220. I mean, it's got a lot of good things in the future. Boeing, the bad stuff seems to be behind them. What else? JP Morgan, they're going to be presenting today at a Goldman Sachs financial conference this morning. JP Morgan's up 0.2% this morning. Mondelez and Hershey's HSY. Mondelez is reportedly exploring, the opportunity to buy Hershey's, but this requires approval from the Hersheys Trust, and the Attorney General of Pennsylvania also has a say on it. So either one of these two entities could foil this deal. So the Attorney General of Pennsylvania, he's not going to let this company get bought out unless he gets assurances that there's going to be no job loss and there's only going to be job creation. And, they got that Hershey Park, they got the Hershey plant. No, Hershey's does not get bought out by Mondelez. If anything, Hershey buys out Mondelez because it just doesn't make sense. There's too many roadblocks for Hershey's to be bought out. So I just don't see that happening. In terms of guidance news, we're talking HQI, Henry Quinton Yellow, that's Health Equity. They see full year 2024 EPS coming in 308 to 316. Street estimate as at 312. In the middle, that's fine. OLLI, Oscar, Larry, India. That's Ollie's bargain outlet. They see full year 2024 EPS coming in $3.22 to $3.30. Street estimates $3.27 in the middle. That's positive. GI, ticker GIII, G3 Apparel. They raised their 2025 EPS to $4.10 to $4.20. Street estimate has it at $4.01. That's a big uptick. GIII, G3 Apparel. And let's talk Alaska Airlines, ticker ALK, Apple Air Kilo. I'm going to be talking about Alaska Airlines a lot this morning. They came out and they see full year 2025 EPS at least $5.75. Street estimate has it at $5.44. That's a nice uptick for Alaska Air, ALK. Let's talk shareholders meetings. Who's having a shareholders meeting today? Alaska Air, ticker ALK. Their meeting starts at 1 p.m. Also, Microsoft's having its shareholders meeting today, and GE Veranova, that's GEV, Grace Edward Victor, they're having their investors to update today, but that doesn't start till after the bell at 4:40 p.m. Let's talk buyback news. Lilly, ticker LLY, those shares are trading. This is interesting to me because Lilly shares are where they were. They're higher by 1.42% this morning because their board approved a new 15 billion share repurchasing program. And Alaska Air, ticker ALK, they're buying back up to 1 billion shares. Another positive aspect to Alaska Air, ALK. Then we have Catalyst calls, Full Truck Alliance, ticker YMM, Yellow, Michael. Citibank opened up a 30-day positive catalyst watch on the stock, and they raised their price target from $13 to $15 for ticker YMM, Yellow, Mary. But that's what I have for you about news hitting the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. It is now that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Bill, what do you have for us today?
Going with Macy's, ticker M as in Michael Macy's. I mean, listen, earnings are coming out tomorrow morning. Now, they already did kind of pre-release and was a little negative. But you look at yesterday's call volume, 45,333 calls versus put volume of 31,763. That is positive. The major brokers, they did lower some of their price targets. I will say that happened, but this shareholder, this event is going to be a little bit different because they're under a lot of pressure from their activists. They just sold their Brooklyn storefront, so that's a net positive. And I think that they're going to be able to have some positive announcements when they release tomorrow morning. So I do like the stock, but I got to get in a good price. I'm thinking, if it trades 1650, 1655, I'll take a position, but I want to get in a little bit of a discount this morning, but I do like Macy's. I think Macy's is going to, have a nice little run due to the shareholders' activism that's occurring. So that's my pick of the day. M as in Macy's, 1650, Emily.
Bill, looking for some discounts in Macy's during this holiday shopping season. It is. And coming up, we will do that recap on yesterday's pick of the day before we sign off. So stick with us. But first, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our hot off the press segment. Bill, take it away.
Ticker SIRI, Sam India, Richard India, Sirius XM expects to reduce debt by approximately 700 million in 2025. The Buckle, ticker BKE, they declared a $2.50 cash dividend. AMD in Northland, it's a brokerage report. Alaska Air, ALK, launches a new gateway in Seattle, unveils new routes. Macy's, bargain shares tempt activists again. CPIX, FDA approved a supplemental new drug application. It's a liver drug. Chevron CVX was added to the Bank of America's USA 1 list as its best investment idea. U.S. Department of Commerce has finalized a subsidy of more than $6.1 billion for Micron. Global Airlines forecast 2025 growth despite unacceptable supply chain issues. Well, the supply chain issues are not just with Boeing, by the way. Airbus has the same issues, because they can't get some of the parts they need to make some of these planes. So, there's it's an issue. There's demand, but there's not a lot of ability to make the planes. But Boeing did have that strike, but that's resolved. Starbucks appointed its first chief growth officer in China. That's all I'm seeing this morning, Emily.
Okay, Bill, before we sign off and get to trading on this Tuesday, let's do that check-in on yesterday's pick of the day. We pointed out early in the show was Oracle. Now, I did see more than a handful of price target raises on the stock this morning. Citi, Morgan Stanley, Piper Sandler, a whole bunch raising price targets. Now, you did tell us during your earnings rundown they narrowly missed estimates in terms of their earnings report yesterday. They reported Q2 EPS of $1.47. That was 1 cent worse than the analyst estimate, $1.48. Revenue for the quarter came in at $14.1 billion versus the consensus of $14.12 billion. They did report Q2 cloud revenue of $5.9 billion. That was up 24%. And they see total cloud revenue could top $25 billion this fiscal year. As you told us, you're sort of sifting through the details. Not a bad report. Expectations were high, but you told me offline you played this one and were able to walk out of the game. What happened there? How did your call work out?
Well, let's look at the numbers. First off, the stock opened up at 196.30 and hit a high on the day of 198.31. So, there's your 1%. But then, during the trading day, it fell down to 188.93. So, it was trading like 190 right before the earnings came out, and then the earnings came out and the stock fell. And I was long the stock, going into earnings, and then the stock fell. It fell all the way, fell down to 174, and I thought that was pretty cheap, and I bought a little. Then it fell down to 171 something. I bought a little more. And next thing you know, it just started railing, started picking up because the report wasn't bad, and I was able to sell out at 180 because it hit 180 in the aftermarket after that initial drop. So it fell from 190 down to 170, 150, something like that. And then it climbed its way back to 180. And so I was able to average out on a 1% gain. So it was good. I mean, Oracle did work out for me, but I did have to take a little bit of an extra, step in there. But, there was a 1% during the day, but the bigger move, the more fun was after trading in the after hours, because that really was a fun time to play when you're able to double up and pull out that gain, during the day of more than 1%, and see that stock rise from 171.5 up to 180. It was like, ooh, that was a winner. So Oracle, I did make money on it, happy, but today's a new day. Got to find something new, Emily.
A little bit of a roller coaster ride there, albeit a fun roller coaster ride and a gain with Oracle. And we will check in with you tomorrow about today's Macy's pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow and each weekday morning at NewsWare's Trade Talk when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Advani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.